Thank you. I am Namanjai and this is News Review. Coming up today, Finance Minister Mamburin Jai has pushed back at charges leveled against his government or the central government there by National Assembly members that the government broke the law by not seeking the House's approval of its food aid program last month there. Also coming up, commuters or those that normally take the passenger vehicles, they are complaining bitterly that fares have not gone down despite the huge reduction there on the prices of fuel. I'll also be joined by Keksane. These and more coming up, but we will first do a review of the newspapers, and I will begin with the Standard. According to the Standard today, Barrow must not drag feet on Constitution. That's a quote according to Dr. Ismaila Ceesay. Banjul Brewery's closure tabled at National Assembly. Also another twist in Laura food cocaine saga. So basically that is what is on the front pages of the Standard. We will see in detail what the stories are saying. A founding member of the Opposition Citizens Alliance has urged civil society organizations and politicians to put pressure on President Adama Barrow to expedite the draft constitution to the National Assembly. Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, a political science lecturer at the University of the Gambia, said the president cannot tamper with the draft constitution as opposed to the 1997 draft constitution. Dr. Ceesay's comment is the latest among many Gambians who said they suspect President Adama Barrow may use the COVID-19 pandemic to delay the passing of the draft constitution there to the assembly and then later to a referendum. So according to the Standard, Banjul Brewery's closure tabled at National Assembly. The Commissioner General of the Gambia Revenue Authority has said government has no authority to rescind a decision by the stakeholders or shareholders of the Banjul Brewery's Limited to shut down operations in the country. Yankuba Dabo was among relevant government officials and members of the National Assembly Select Committee who met with the BLL, that's the Banjul Brewery's officials, on the announced decision to wrap up. Another twist in Laura food cocaine or food company cocaine saga. The Attorney General's Chambers has returned the police investigative report on a high-profile cocaine seizure to the country's anti-narcotics agency for adjustment as it has been found defective. Reports reaching the Standard intimated the Gambia government sometime last year sanctioned an investigation into the circumstances surrounding a huge cocaine catch in the country, and after several months of probe, the police presented their report to the Justice Ministry for legal advice. But sources in the inner circle of the Drug Law Enforcement Agency informed the Standard that the Justice Ministry was not in part satisfied with the report and has in fact sent it back to the Drugs Control Agency for further works. That is all for the Standard. Let's see quickly what the point are saying. They are saying Gambia for All urges transparency on COVID-19 funds. Government gives update on national or emergency food aid distribution. EU gives $73 million to support Gambia's coastal and marine zone resilience to climate change. Fatou Mas outlines 5 points for government to harness to combat effect of COVID-19 on hospitality industry. So according to the point, Gambia for All, that's Gambia GFA party, in a press release yesterday underlined that it expects more transparency from government and continues to express the need for transparency and accountability in the use of funds for COVID-19. The party points out that it's imperative the government engages religious and traditional leaders, political parties, trade unions, private sector and civil society to promote wider understanding of and support for the response plan for COVID-19. So according to the point 2, soon after President Adama Barrow's national address on his government's COVID-19 emergency food aid amounting to over $700 million at Makati Square on Sunday, 26th April, the distribution has since begun across the entire nation as hundreds of truckloads leave Makati Square daily. As of today, so this is according to a press release by the government spokesperson there, saying as of today, that's on the 5th of May, out of the 230,000 50 kilo bags of rice earmarked for distribution to 84% of Gambian households, some 193,179 bags have reached their distribution centers nationwide. The press release then continues to add that also out of the 230,000 50-kilogram bags of sugar meant for the program, some 197,279 bags have thus far been distributed across all regions in the country. Similarly, of the 148,000 10-liter drums of cooking oil, some 125,618 drums have also left Makati Square and now available at the various distribution centers across the Gambia. EU gives $73 million to support Gambia's coastal and marine zone resilience to climate change. This week, the European Union provided $73 million to fund a long-term technical assistance team to work in support of the National Environment Agency and Department of Water Resources in mitigating the consequences of climate change and helping the Gambia to adapt to it. So, according to the point also, Senegal confirms 104 fresh cases of COVID-19. The Senegalese Ministry of Health yesterday reported 104 positive cases of COVID-19, making a total of 1,493, 493, although has been treated, 12 deaths, and 927 under treatment. That's that for the papers. We will be back, right back. The Minister of Finance, Mamboure Njie, has rejected suggestions there by National Assembly members that his ministry, that the Minister of Finance, broke the law by not seeking the approval of the National Assembly over foodstuff it purchased. The borough administration last month spent over $700 million on hundreds of bags of rice and sugar to be distributed to Gambian households. The government, however, never sought the approval of the National Assembly there, and the Finance Minister was today at the National Assembly to do some explanation. This is what he told reporters shortly after that meeting.
Yeah, I said very clear that we rely and we are guided by the Public Finance Act 2014, and even you revisit the 1997 Constitution, the Public Finance Act was done after the 1997 Constitution, and it's like a delegated authority. And what we have relied on is very clear. Section 29, very clear on the environment and the powers invested on the ministry and the minister in particular to reallocate funds. The most important thing is that the amount that was appropriated by the National Assembly still being respected. We have not done any extra budgetary expenditure. Again, the environment, out of the 24 environments, 20 of them were all on travels. And currently, there is a travel ban. So it was a very clear indication that we can use those funds, especially the intent is all about COVID related. We needed to respond, and we should be proud of ourselves in the sense that it is our money that we use. Up to this moment, I am talking, it is the Gambians' tax money that we are using, we're accountable, and we are doing it in the right way. If we were endowed with enough resources in this country, then we will do it in one piecemeal. It's about management. It's about mobilizing funds and resources. And up to today, I said, everything is locally mobilized. So piecemeal meaning activity on activity. First one we said is COVID, 100% health related. The second one we said this is to respond to the cries of those most vulnerable people. That is why we did the second one. And this one we said that savings is there and we had to use it. So piecemeal in the sense that our envelope resources, it's not like we have an open check. We mobilize in a way that will not affect the operations of the government. So the strategy really is, again, I always talk about fiscal discipline. In the midst of all of these things, our envelope to the health and COVID-related activity, that one is open. We are willing, the instructions we have from the president of the report is that, you know what, with this one, there is no limit. Whatever it takes to be able to cope the virus and also to make sure the most vulnerable people will also be taken care of.
So thank you. So Keks Sane joins me now. He was at the National Assembly there. He's a journalist who attended the session there, and he joins me now. Keks, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Lamin.
So it was a tense affair at the National Assembly today. The members of the National Assembly Select Committee, of course, on public finance there, grilling the finance minister there. Can you tell us, because the finance minister was insisting that they didn't do anything wrong. You have the lawmakers, including the likes of Sidia Jara, saying, no, you broke the law. You should have, because we are the one who gave you this money. So you should have come to us, and then we will tell you what to do with the money.
Yeah, actually, it was a very heated debate during the beginning, the first half of the debate during the question and answer section between the minister and the Public Finance Account Committee at the National Assembly. For me, I thought it was just a kind of misunderstanding that the minister was just relying on the Public Finance Act rather than putting in the back of his mind the constitution which supersedes every law in this country. So he was more of relying on the issue of the Public Finance Act, rely on Section 29. But if you are to read that, you should not read it in isolation. You should read 30 and 32 itself. It gives you what has to be done prior to before relying on to Section 21. So there was more of and the members definitely were very serious about the issue, because if you could recall, there was a $5 million that was forced via from other ministries to Ministry of Health, which was gathered together, and this was done without the consultation with the National Assembly members. So when the minister came to the National Assembly, they made it very clear to him that what you have did is not in line with the law, and he was insisting, and they told him they give him the constitutional requirement. Both Sidia Jara and Yakumba and Tumanjai made their position very clear, and they read the laws of this country that governs the day-to-day activities of the country, and it is clearly stated what should be done. So he was insisting, and they told him, then you can seek legal advice from the Minister of Justice if you feel like you are still right. And we thought that should have been the best approach that he should have done, by seeking a legal advice from his colleagues, whether the section that is relying on, he should rely on that to just take money from any ministry and just spend it anyhow he wants, as far as it has been approved in the 2020 budget. He doesn't need the approval of the National Assembly if he has to via it or move it or use anyhow he wants. That's not the language of labor. He never did that, and when again they take 730 million that was for the food package that have been brought by the president.
Yes.
So the members feel that this was a contempt of the National Assembly, because the National Assembly has the law has provided that they have the power up to the High Court. They can summon the minister, they can call on the vice president, they can even
this
impeach.
issue of contempt there, was this why they asked him to come today? Was that?
No, the main purpose was for him to come and explain their money, where it was generated, and when they know that actually it was generated from the 2020 national budget without the consultation with the National Assembly members, then this issue of legality came up.
But one thing, Keks, these people, the entire meeting, I watched it, and one thing that they pointed out, indicated clearly, is that they are honest officials, that they are not engaged in any dubious act. Yet the National Assembly members were being very fault-finding, if you like. What do you make of that?
Yeah, actually, if you look at the tone or the language they were speaking, both the minister, both the procurement authority that they apply, Tambedu, you look at that's Buha, I don't know, it's
Buasedi,
permanent secretary, even Mr. Tambedu, all of them spoke so eloquent. When they talk, you are impressed that, come on, these people are. But whether that is the reality is something that is yet to be proven by anybody until the auditors present their reports to the National Assembly, and they have audited all this money and they give it to the National Assembly that nothing has done. But for now, things that have been coming maybe due to their explanation, because even me I have a problem with when you just tell me that, okay, for the National Assembly members, for their buckets, 17 buckets, and that of hand sanitizers, each National Assembly members 100 sanitizers, which is $75 you want, and for one bottle. You calculated and you said you have spent $3 million. You must give me at least, communication is very important. The moment we communicate, we understand how it is, then there will be no speculation. You look at the hotels, they tell you that 672 people for $3 million for their full accommodation. There's no explanation. They don't give you how much is the hotel.
There is no evidence.
There's no material, there's no receipt that you can attach to those reports, so that the people will be confident to say that, okay, actually. So the moment information is lacking, there's no trust. And all of us, all the citizens, majority of them, you go to the social media.
So is this why Syria is calling this issue of environment a fraud?
No, legality it's not correct. Why?
Syria.
Yeah, Syria was telling, the law is here. And the law has provided you to come. And it's just going, you come, you tell us this is what we want, and we will do it. Because the law is there, it creates for environment, and it is possible in the law. But your failure to come then tells us that you are hiding something. So the failure of them to come gives suspicion to the National Assembly, then something must be wrong at somewhere else. So that's why they were pressing why you didn't come. He don't say, when the law was already there, why don't you come and just tell us that we need via money? I'm taking this money from this money to another money. Because why they are saying that those things were approved in the 2020 budget, and it was a law. A bill was tabled before the National Assembly to tell the members that they want an appropriation bill. And this was debated, and National Assembly put, and it becomes a law that 2020, this is the expenditure of the Gambia government. So that is law. So if any changes will be there, it has to go through that legal process again, for it to be a law by taking ministry from one ministry to another ministry. If that is not done, then anything that is done is fraud, is illegal. So that was the emphasis of the National Assembly members, to tell them that we approve this. And the law is saying, section 51, you go to 151, you go to 152 of the Constitution. Even the Public Finance Act 31 and 32, everything is clearly stated. So for that being the case, that was not done. So they have this impression that then something must be wrong. Why? Because if the law has provided you, and nobody is going to deny you if you come and you said, I want environment. So, but you refuse to come. Then you put that mindset in the minds of the people that then something is wrong, that's why he's hiding. So they want to push to know whether something is hiding or not.
So let's get one thing also clear. The issue of environment, the money that has been on the receiving end of it, has been the money allocated for travel. Now, what the amount of money that has been affected, hit by the environment there, is over $1 billion. So you can see that a lot of money goes into travel.
Yeah, if you check the first money that was, you look at 24 ministries were affected. But if you calculate how much was spent on, you will find out that $60 million that was actually for travel only. Then the remaining ones are procurements of tables and other things were cut. They feel that it's not necessary workshops because there's no public gatherings. So until they have the half of the $500 million. That's the travel was only that. But this second environment is nothing to do with travel or anything. This was the debt that every year after the approval of the budget, they will tell you that, okay, this amount of money is allocated for the debts that we owe to other countries or our partners. So this will be paid. So we know that IMF has given us a loan relief for now because of this coronavirus. They said we can just restructure ourselves and build our economy, and for the period of 5 years, they will forgive us for the loan for now. Not that we will not pay, but at least they will give us the breathing space to at least put down our house in order before they will request for their debts, that their monies that we owe to them. So the ministry feel like, okay, now we have this opportunity. So that's where they go and take this $730 million and purchase the food for the citizenries and do the distribution. So that too is an environment, because you are taking it from the debt service, then you are moving it to the Ministry of Health or whatever for procurement. So that's environment. That was the argument that before you do that, you should come, because law make it to be a debt service. So if you are to move it, you must come back to the parliament so that the same law and procedures will be taken. Then it will be legal for you to move the money and there will be no implication. And tomorrow, if anything happens, it will be the responsibility of the National Assembly members who are given the authority and the mandate to enact laws. You guys, you can just have an intention of you want this to be a law, but the executive cannot make a law. It's the National Assembly that can make a law. But now, if the executive can just wish or make a proclamation that this is what they want, and at the same time they implement it, that means that what is the role of the National Assembly?
Thanks.
So they have no role.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, as always. We will take a short break and then we'll be back. So thank you. Now, commuters have been complaining bitterly that fares have not gone down despite a huge reduction on the prices of fuel in the country. Barely a week ago, the government announced the reduction of fuel prices in the country, but fares remain exactly where they are, and passengers are certainly not happy.
Yeah, I said very clear that we relied and we are
drivers at the Serekunda Brikama garage had increased the Brikama fares from $18 to $25, and this increment still remains in place even after the reduction of the fuel prices. Passengers are now complaining that fares have not gone down.
But then you face problem. Metina trop. Da ñun Brikama be fee Serekunda ñu ko fayon $18. Waaye da nga gis ne léegi ñu ngi bëgg a ñibbi ñeneen ñaa ñe wax $50 $25. loolu métti la wax dëgg yàlla nga war a ñëw dem war a demaat ñu di dellu togg sa ndëgu dafa métti dëgg-dëgg soo nar a toog fii ba kañ doo am da nga passé ñibbi dafa nekk problème dëgg-dëgg problème leen nekk di fees wax dëgg yàlla métti na trop.
pass bi kay moom métti na loor parce que ñi ñu ngi ci coono bi ba léegi mënuñu bàyyi affaire yi wàññee kii bi pass bi ñu ngi ci continuer bi ba léegi loolu métti na trop ñun buñ doon ñëw loolu lañ fay comme lii kii nu mu la ko waxee waaye léegi ñu ngi waaj ñëw ñibbi ñu ngi wax affaire kii 50 ñii di wax 25.
ñu koy ñoo gën a sonn war ngeen ñu dimbali gi nga tey jaay laa wuse sama xaalis baa ngi nii jeex na ama xaalis ma ne ko ama xaalis bi yëpp jeex na lu ma lumu loo yëkkati na paas
mum mbaɗin trafol la tilimbali yalete ɓayri man se gas welo talade na ba ñama place wo place ni mo talaje bu ka profito soto so wala na ñul ka fe kata direct mal fe kanjel wala na ñul ko kata direct so place wo place ni mo fo mo kin naka signat so trafol min kata Brikama wala kata 25 la bara ñi sila kan jilal $10 silom e ka jo wala bar ni paso be anu nga nyamanu ni paso ba na nyamanu e ka joni nyami $18 to ni bayal ko traffic fana se $2 so dila ya understand bari traffic fana nak ka $50 so bin foten to nya be alay be yusungar nyaati mo bin ko tilimbali ya jaw balam aman ko kendete gambia dingo nimbe nyoma ko nga nyoma ko wala banko la nyaatu tati franke ni police le fay ni nyoka because ni tilimbali yak ke ni masala di nyola kat ka police no nga number plate ol safi ka di masakunda anu ni fara silo kan ike mutala ni masaye muta masabe do nana tantama.
One of the staff of the garage said drivers are doing this deliberately because the fuel price is reduced. He also said they do take their number plates to report to the police. Drivers.
Thank you. So that will be that for today's show. Do join us next week. Until then.